All right. Continuing on my Star Wars series reviews, I'm reviewing these in release order. So, thus, yes, I talked about Last Jedi last week, but no, I'm not talking about Last Jedi this week. I'm talking about Solo, a Star Wars story this week. Just the way things worked out. Next week, I will talk about Rise of Skywalker. Solo's an interesting movie for a lot of reasons. It's the only Star Wars movie that was mingled with up to the degree it was. I mean, Rogue One had some production issues that I didn't mention in that video because I feel like they weren't interesting to talk about and didn't really change my feelings on the movie. But this one did, where Disney hired Phil Lord and Chris Miller to direct a Solo movie. Didn't like how comedic the movie was, which doesn't make sense because you have two guys who've only really directed movies with lots of comedic energy. The only movie that they don't have in their catalog that could maybe be um, considered less comedic is Project Hail Mary, but even then, that has a lot of humor in it. And that movie is a movie that came out after Solo. So I don't understand that with Disney and what they were doing with this whole project and why it ended up being like this. And it ended up being a major disaster. They brought Ron Howard, a director I actually really liked for a while. I mean, I still like a lot of his stuff, but not in the way I used to. Anyways, he um, came in and reshot the movie. And so it kind of leaves us with this movie that we can only wonder what could have been. We don't really know what Lord and Miller's version would be. I undoubtedly think it would have been a better movie just because of the fact that Lord and Miller are better directors than Ron Howard. That's just a fact in my mind. However, there's a chance it could not have been. So I don't really know. But I just think that that's such an insane thing that happened on this movie. And for a movie that should be pretty easy to make, a Han Solo movie should not be that hard to make. Because it's a movie that just no one wants. So it should be pretty easy for you to just do whatever you want and be creative and be unique. And I think this movie failed at that. I think this movie failed at being unique or special, and that's part of the reason why it bombed. There's just nothing to say about it. And keep in mind, I'm not saying this from a place of I hate this movie. I actually really like this movie. I think that there's problems with the movie. Like, I really don't think the movie is a good looking movie. Like, I'm not talking about the cinematography or the visual effects or, costume design, any of that stuff, and that visual stuff. I mean, like, the movie just is so visually dark that I couldn't even tell you what the cinematography looked like or what certain scenes were. It is ridiculous how awful the color palette of this movie looks. Also, um, I don't think, that the annoying prequel elements that you see in this movie work at all, right? We make fun of the line about how Han Solo get his name. It's fucking stupid. By the way, I watched this Solo, so am I Avery Solo? Just saying. But you got a lot of great stuff in this movie. Um, I think that really works for me. Like, I love the train heist scene. That scene was awesome. I love the character of Val and Rio Duran. By the way, is voiced by Jon Favreau, which I found out recently, which is pretty cool because he had not created The Mandalorian yet. And those characters really great. That train heist scene felt like something out of Firefly, and that was a great scene. I like Beckett as a character, and I like a lot of that. I love Lando in this movie, even if I hate his like social justice warrior like robot. I hate using that term, but that's the only way I can describe this character. I'm not really sure what the point of this character was in this movie, even other than to just make this whole thing like political and weird and just like, you know, that's the kind of thing where like Disney movies are accused of like throwing politics in there, and I think it's silly when that accusation happens. But this is one where you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's there's no thank you. Just I don't know. I I like this movie. I think the score to this movie is good. It has its own unique feel. Like I didn't think the Rogue One score was as good as the score in this movie. Yeah, I so it's a fun movie. I just think that it's kind of also a very forgettable movie. Like every time I watch this movie, I have a really good time. I'm really entertained, but I don't ever really go back and revisit that much. But it's also a movie I've seen multiple times. It's kind of a weird combination like that. It's a movie that's really fun. I have a great time, but I also forget that I even saw it and don't revisit it that much, even though I've seen it a lot, which is weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I get it. It's conflicting things, but it's really true with this movie. So I don't know. I this is it's fine for what it is. I also like the chewing Han in this movie. I also think Alden Ehrenreich, I think is the guy who plays Han in this movie. I think he did pretty good as Han. I mean, he's no Harrison Ford, but he captured enough of that energy that I'm like, okay, I see it. Uh, so yeah, we're gonna talk about this dumpster fire next week. Be excited. Let me know your thoughts, like, share, and subscribe.